Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all, we're not able to see it, but Thing just reached in with Haley over there. That was awesome. That's fine. My kids, you'll probably hear my kids here in just a second. It's great. It's COVID, right? So welcome everybody to the ActionCAST. It is going to be an absolutely spectacular day. We have with us Mr. James Cohen and Hailey Ben-Izhak of NEVVON. Thank you so much for being here, James and Haley. I appreciate it.
So nice to be here. Clint.
Yeah. Now, we have a lot to get to today. Normally, we're only one guest, but today we're doubling down on it, and we are absolutely blessed with some tremendous knowledge here. NEVVON is in the education space within the home care world, the training and all of this. So we have some really great information coming down the pike that y'all are going to want to stay tuned for, because there's some really great training that's going to be available. Really, y'all have this available to just everybody to really go in and help their caregivers understand this vaccination, help get prepared for it. So make sure you stay tuned to the end here, because we're going to be talking about that. And always, as always, this is a live performance. So make sure you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Authorize yourself so we can see all the great comments coming in. If you have any questions for James or Haley during it, post them in the comments and we'll get to them as much as we can. So to begin with, James, if you don't mind, tell us really quick, kind of, obviously you're the founder of NEVVON, and you come from a really interesting home care background from starting your business. So if you could give us a quick introduction of yourself, and then Haley, you do the same.
Sure. Thank you, Clint, again. So I've been in healthcare for 19 years in different aspects of healthcare, specifically in home care for the last decade. I founded a home care agency just about 10 years ago that grew at scale. We serviced 3 different states, 2 different provinces in Canada. And I sold that business about 3 years ago. When I was thinking about the next thing that I wanted to do in home care, of course, one of the things that we will always want to do when we create a business is thinking about what kind of pain points can we solve. And one of the more difficult things in our business is caregiving. You know, we have a shortage of caregivers across the nation. It's very difficult to recruit them, very difficult to retain them. And of course, it's very difficult both from a compliance perspective and from an education perspective to train them at scale. So I created a company called NEVVON, of course, that trains caregivers both from a compliance perspective and to make them better caregivers.
There you go. That's fantastic. It's wonderful to see someone come up, one, through the ranks in home care, understand how to build, and you built a massive business. You're being very, very modest about what you built. But you built a really incredible business structure and was able to really change a lot of people's lives within what you did and your care team themselves. So Haley, tell us about you. I heard that you're an actress. What?
Oh no, that's just like I'm not.
I know. I know.
I know. Pay to play community theater to get my jollies, and I think you guys mentioned a karaoke night, which I'm still waiting for.
Oh my God, me too.
I'm still waiting for that karaoke night because I really just love to be in front of people. I have no shame. So yeah,
that's fine. I was John Boy Walton in a Christmas special.
I've been Ado Annie in Oklahoma. I've been Reno Sweeney. I've been
there you go.
What's her name? Bend and Snap from Legally Blonde was my favorite role I ever played. Oh my goodness.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but that's not my official background. That's just something I like to do for fun sometimes when there's time in life, which there isn't now. And my background is actually sales, marketing, advertising, and events. And I was really looking for something to be more purpose driven in what I was doing with my time in my day. And I really, I met James and he told me about NEVVON and an opportunity he had there. And I really, first of all, I loved his passion for what he does. And I decided I wanted to join this team because I really think there's an opportunity to use technology hand in hand with people and help move business objectives forward. And so here I am.
That is fantastic. It is so wonderful to understand what you want to get out of a career and out of an advancement, right? So not just understanding this is a field I want to be in, but this is the reason behind it, that purpose that you were talking about. And one of the reasons that y'all are on the show today is a purpose that y'all have come up with at NEVVON. And that is your COVID training. And y'all have put together this incredible COVID vaccination training that we'll talk about here in just a little bit. But a lot of this spawned from the fact that you wanted to make sure that in the home care space, there was available free training for the care providers so they could understand how and what they needed to do and why they needed to get this vaccination. Now, Hailey, before we were talking about with kind of the reasons why y'all are doing this, and you talked about 2 ways. So what are the top 2 ways that agencies can build buy-in? Because buy-in right now is one of the bigger things. We were blessed. We were very active in it, and we had about 95% buy-in on the front end when they first started coming out. But that's not what you're hearing, is it? That's not what's going on, is it, Hailey?
No, it's not what's going on. And there are a lot of reasons. So there's this concept of like anti-vaxxers, and we're not really talking about anti-vaxxers in that true sense when we're talking about the hesitancy for the COVID-19 vaccine. And vaccine hesitancy is a big problem, and it sort of stems from a lot of different things, but ultimately it comes back to fear. And so one of my other hobbies is really, really weird, but I really enjoy behavioral psychology. So I do a lot of reading around, how to help influence people's behavior and move and help change my own behavior. And so in learning this, I come up with some strategies around this. So because the hesitancy is fear-based, and because we have to always understand when there's a fear, you've got to know where people are coming from their own individual experiences. You really need to be aware of how you're interacting with the individuals on your team, right? When you're talking to them about the vaccine, ask them a question. When you're talking to them, ask them, where are you coming from? What's your experience been with vaccines? Try and hear what they're saying. Because when someone feels understood, and when you practice techniques like mirroring, they feel understood and they're more open to understanding. So that's really the first step. It's so, so important to make sure that people feel heard and that their fears are acknowledged. Same as we do with our kids, right? And the second piece is obviously education, because education is empowerment. And that leads into sort of what we've built here with this free vaccine training that we're making sure everybody has access to without any limitations.
So to break it down, the number one thing you want to do is treat them with respect. That's basically what you're saying, right? Don't discount what they think. And let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments out there what your reactions have been from your care providers. Have y'all had good reaction? Have you had good buy-in? What's some of the elements that you're trying to overcome? I mean, we have some incredible minds here with us today, and we'd love to tackle some of those questions for you. So number one, treat them with respect, which is something that's lacking a lot in this world right now in general, but treat them with respect. And then 2, make sure to provide them the tools that they need to feel comfortable. A lot of times, and I know, and James, you in your business will probably attest to this as well. A lot of the times that we have trouble with caregivers even not showing up for shifts, or maybe not handling themselves properly on shifts. It might not necessarily come from just a training standpoint, but it's the confidence that we are training them with. So even if we are handing them incredible tools, right? Incredible ability to get all of this training done, if we're not confident in what we are giving them, then they won't be confident in delivering those services. So, James, now you talk about building your business, and you built an incredible business very quickly. And within that, training was a big key of what you did. It's really what you focused on, and understanding how to bring that technology into it, because technology makes training so much more, not only consistent, right? But it makes it more available. We can disseminate it to our people in such an easier fashion. So with this, and I'm going to ask you about this really quick because this is something that's near and dear to my heart. Kind of owners always focus on big ticket items. So COVID hits, all of a sudden we're teaching people about hand washing, right? Which is something we should have been doing, hopefully, and we're doing all along the way. But all of a sudden now hand washing becomes a big thing. And as owners, we get this blinders on the focus on these big ticket items. But when it comes to training, consistency is key. So what are some areas that you consider a must focus for agency owners and operators that they need to focus on to train their people on?
Yeah. So, when we think about training, obviously there are different states have different regulations. So we think compliance first. But besides being compliant, we believe that better training equals better care. And if we have a better care, there's going to be better health outcomes, better economic outcomes. It's a win-win-win for everybody. So we train in different modalities, and it's extremely important in how we design our instruction. Our instruction is designed based on who is the learner. We're not using super complicated scientific terms in order to explain our training. We're trying to use plain language to do so. We're also multilingual. We build our education in different languages. We know many caregivers across the nation, English is their second language or maybe their third language. So that's really important that they have. Clint, what you alluded to before, the old way of training was that face-to-face interaction where caregivers would come into the office, the owner of the agency or the nurse would train them. We all know that we're only going to retain, a certain amount, maybe 50, 75% of what we were learned or taught. But now if you all of a sudden have the training online, maybe on your mobile app, maybe accessible to you on your phone, if you're going to a new client that you haven't seen, maybe a Parkinson's client for a long time, you can now go into the app, go into a micro lesson, refresh your memory about what you learned in the past. So now you can go in there as a more educated caregiver and hopefully provide better care. And that is only a good thing that can happen.
Yeah. And with being able to understand what you're doing on a shift, that's vital. Like it's vitally important. And I know for us, and I talk about kind of what are some main focus areas for training that agency owners should really be focused in on, because when you look at these big ticket items, if you break it down, and so this is, if you're multitasking, if whatever you're doing, come back to me right now, because this is some really actionable information for you. Okay. You're going to walk away from this. And Joe actually alludes to it here. He comes up and he says the caregiver should take ownership of the care plan. Okay. So what I'm talking about, these main focus points that we should be focused in on within our training, we need to understand that number one, it's about awareness. Okay. Not just the physical tools by which we train. And when we're coaching on Alzheimer's or we're Parkinson's or maybe ALS, whatever these elements are, we need to be training and keep in the forefront the awareness that is needed. We created what we called our care provider guides, and it's little pocket-sized booklets that, accordion style, they fold out. And the caregivers have become part of their uniform because within that was a pre-shift and a post-shift routine. And we wanted, number one, we wanted to teach this awareness aspect and this understanding of when you walk in, what is their countenance like, right? What is their mood? If they're always aggravated on Tuesdays mornings, what happens Wednesday night, right? So that gives us this better understanding. And then lastly, for me, the two main focuses, and James and Hailey, both you can kind of chime in on this too. For me, the two main focuses that homeowners or the home care owners should focus on training is number one, awareness, and number two, confidence. When we train on awareness, That's wonderful. They understand what they're looking at, what their environment is. But then we give them all of this training, and y'all have some really great training that comes through. But then if we don't train them on confidence and being able to perform those actions with confidence, even if it's the first time that they've done it, right? Even if it's something that they're not used to, like you were talking about, they want a refresher on it. Going in and delivering that service with confidence, that makes all the difference. James, what's your thoughts on those two elements?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just see Joe, not to take away from what you're saying, Joe said something really important here that, try to match the right caregiver with the right client based on their skills and maybe empathy and their likes and dislikes are super important, and to understand the caregiver better. So Joe, to answer your question, one of the things that I think some of the more advanced training companies or e-training companies are doing are noticing the trends and the business intelligence that we're learning around how well are they doing on these quizzes that they're taking at the end of their training. Are they really doing poorly on Alzheimer's training? Are they scoring 5 out of 10 consistently on them? That should probably tell us as agency owners, hey, maybe I should look at this caregiver and maybe give them some more training around Alzheimer's. There might be someone who's doing fantastic on their ADLs, and that from getting that from technology, because you can get some real good intelligence from the training on how your caregivers are being trained. So Joe, excellent question. I completely agree with you. It's not only the training, it's better matching the caregiver with the right client. And one way to look at it is also look at it by knowing your caregiver better based on their educational capacity and where you can upskill them more to get them to the point where they can hopefully match with more clients.
Right. And understanding that as owners, that if someone is not leveling up, so to speak, within the education element, that falls on us as owners. We need to be back. It goes back to the awareness. We have to be aware of that, like you're talking about, and then really have a plan of action in place to make sure we're giving as much ability as possible. And someone asked about the care provider guide. That's actually something that we do. We have a template of it that we do in our Action Leader experience. So next time that opens up, look for the Action Leader experience. You can find it there. But Hailey, so let's talk about this caregiver training that y'all are doing with the COVID vaccine. So NEVVON is committed to educating no fewer than 100,000 of COVID-19, or educating 100,000 people with COVID vaccine education. So tell me a little bit about what fueled this, and then what are y'all doing to actually make sure you're accomplishing this end result?
I'm actually going to let James take this one because
Sure, I'll take it. We work in the caring business. We all have to come together as a community. We know that. We have been hit hard this year, and the more we come together, the better. When COVID hit back February, March, we are a for-profit corporation, but we wanted to give back. We gave a ton of PPE donations. We did COVID training for free for anyone that wanted it. We updated that COVID training 7 times as guidance has changed. It was very important for us, and it was very well received. We recently set up 300 caregivers to get vaccinated in an urgent care center. 27 out of those 300 people showed up, out of those caregivers showed up. And unfortunately, we had to throw away the other 273 vaccinations because they only remain good out of the refrigerator for 6 hours or less. And, what a waste when there are so many people who need it. When we started calling the caregivers and asking them why they didn't come to get the vaccination, it came from one extreme where Google is hiding, all the side effects of the vaccinations, and we're not going to be the guinea pigs. to the other one side where it was, well, we sort of don't want to be the first ones taking the vaccination. We'd like to see more people around the world take the vaccination first, and then we'd be more comfortable. And I remember I asked personally this caregiver, how many people do you think took the vaccination worldwide? And there were probably 10,000 people. And I told her, actually, it's tens of millions of people who've already been vaccinated. And she was like, oh. And then you could see that she was more open to getting the vaccination going. So when I saw that there was a lot of misinformation out there, I wanted to build out as an organization vaccination training and education that is in plain English language, which is going to be translated next week to different languages.
Nice.
Different languages that can be shared. It's absolutely free. It's just for the social good, for the community to come together, and hopefully together we can be a tiny part in helping this pandemic be over with good education. So we made it very, very easy to access. Anyone can have it. You don't have to go on a mobile app. It's just literally going on to a landing page. You fill in your name, email address, you click, and then you get access to the training. And I really think it can help.
And I just put that link up in the comment section. So if you're interested in this, and this is something that really all of your care providers within your home care agency should really go and get this way, even if they've already gotten the vaccine, all of that, because the biggest proponent to success is the support that you have behind your initiative. And so make sure that all of your care providers go get trained and educated on this, because walking into whatever normal is tomorrow, right? So normal's normal today, whatever normal is tomorrow, the number one thing that we as home care have to do, and James, you spoke about this earlier, is we have to come together as a unit. And we have to be unified and understand that, just like Hailey was talking about, treating our team with respect, listening to their objections, the things that they're concerned about, and really valuing and validating their opinions, and then offering them the education. Obviously, we can't make these choices for them, but as agencies, having the ability to give them such a great opportunity to learn, that's something that we absolutely should take a part of. And just in the home care industry, thank you and to you and your team at NEVVON for putting this together, because it really will aid in building an incredible base that we can kind of grow from as home care owners and operators. So it really is incredible. But so how can we find out more about NEVVON, what y'all do? Like, where's the best place to go? I know you say you have a great LinkedIn page.
Yeah. Hailey, you want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to NEVVON.com. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can just email me and James. My email address is Hailey@NEVVON.com. I'll put it in the comments if you want. It's very easy to get in touch with us to learn more. We're very happy to talk to you about your state's regulations or any training challenges that you're coming up against. Or even if you just want to talk through some of this vaccine training, you want more information about it, you can definitely reach out to us.
And I personally love to talk home care. Clint alluded to it before. I grew a very large agency. Happy to talk about my successes, what worked for me, besides training. Just overall, I love the business that we're in, and if I can share any information that was successful for me that you can take away, happy to chat with you personally, and just keep on growing our community.
That's fantastic. Thank y'all so much for coming out and being a part of the ActionCAST today. Some really great information. So just to kind of recap really quick, if you want to make sure that you're building this buy-in, Hailey says that the number one thing you have to do is respect your team, listen to them, and then make sure to provide them the training. And NEVVON has a great training operation going make sure to go to the link in the comments section, and for that free COVID-19 vaccination training for your entire team. Make sure everybody gets on it. We really appreciate y'all coming out. It's been fantastic. So much great information. Really appreciate it. James, thank you. Hailey, I appreciate you so much. Everybody out there, keep taking action.